Mark Zuckerberg's kind of got some explaining to do. What do you want to hear from him, and what do you think we actually will hear from him today?
Yeah, he does. I mean, he's kind of got himself in a box, right? I mean, if you think about it, he's saying they don't want to increase the ad load in the news feed, which is sort of the highest value area where you could run ads on the Facebook property, if you will. They don't want to materially change the Instagram experience with respect to loading it more heavily with ads. They've already walled off WhatsApp with respect to changing that experience materially. Short of Facebook running ads on Twitter, it's not obvious exactly where they're going to run the ads. You're running out of places to do anything. And so for me, this is the box that I'd like to hear how he's going to get himself, how he's going to get himself out of this. And I think that's the thing that needs explanation today.
What about the bigger vision, Corey? You know, buying WhatsApp, buying Oculus, Internet.org, this standalone app strategy with Messenger and Paper, and doesn't Messenger compete with WhatsApp? How does it all fit together?
Well, I think, as usual, Paul's completely wrong. What he was talking about in terms of the numbers from Facebook, yes, you might say that they're not putting ads in some of these new things yet, and we don't know where they're going to monetize these acquisitions. But what we do know is that the revenues that they're getting from each user of Facebook has been increasing pretty dramatically. It started at about $2.20 about 6 quarters ago, and that's up to $2.83 now. And if you look at the kind of percentage gains, it's even more dramatic, because what you see is this amazing turn that Facebook has accomplished over the course of the last year, which is really creating this mobile business and creating a lot of value there. So the revenue per monthly active user, the growth in that is really accelerating.
There's a reason for that, though.
Right.
Right. The reason for that, of course, is the scarcity problem, though, right? I mean, because they've got relatively scarce inventory, because they're not running it in as many places, so the rates go up, so you get more revenue per active user, which is, you can only go so far down that path before advertisers balk.
Well, maybe, maybe not. I mean, we haven't seen a truly effective method of monetizing advertising when it's measured online. We know that when advertising goes from billboards and magazines and television, places where it's not acutely measured, when it comes online and it is acutely measured, the CPMs go way down. The prices that advertisers pay go way down.
Yeah.
Maybe Facebook is starting to figure out ways around that where they're seeing their CPMs increase at least closer to Google territory, and who knows, maybe beyond.
Well, we did see this play out when we saw Google earnings last week, the impact that mobile is having on the cost per click. Sarah, jump in here. What do you think are the most important things to be paying attention to today?
Well, here we've seen Facebook grow its mobile advertising effort from nothing at the time of its IPO into a majority of its business. And the main thing investors are worried about is whether they can keep up this amazing growth. And so this will be a quarter that will sort of determine, is that going to continue on Facebook's main mobile application and Facebook itself, or are these efforts to expand outside Facebook's main application with WhatsApp, with Instagram, with these standalone apps, are those going to be the drivers of all of the growth in the future? So
you guys are focusing very much on the business as it stands today. Paul, what about these bigger picture things that Zuckerberg is working on, the buying of the drone companies, the idea of connecting people in remote parts of the world using satellites and hiring NASA or aerospace engineers? Does he have to explain that stuff yet, or should we just give him some time?
Well, I think he does have to explain it. It frightens the crap out of me. I mean, but I think, then again, Google's gotten away with it for years, right? I mean, Google's gotten away with these rocket science projects and driverless cars and all sorts of things. So as long as the core business delivers, as a matter of fact, outperforms and exceeds expectations consistently, people will give you a pass for wandering around and drawing big pictures in the sky and having a great vision. But the issue will come, when it comes home to roost, is whenever suddenly that core business isn't delivering, and then all of a sudden you have to explain, how is this accretive to the existing business? Why should I care that you're going to have blimps over Zimbabwe or whatever you're going to do? It's all nice, but what does it do for the core business? And I think that's, for now, he gets a pass, but eventually this will come back if the core business ever slows. I expect no explanation, though.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that a lot of these deals are being done with stock. So the fact that he's...
I wanted to ask that question, Corey. Are you at all worried about Facebook's cash pile? They did pay for, these companies mostly in stock, but they did pay some cash. Any concern there?
I mean, I think acquiring cash right now is probably a very prudent thing to do with all this discussion of valuations and tech bubbles. He's using Mark Zuckerberg, and it really is Mark, is using his stock principally to do a lot of these acquisitions. Yes, there's a lot of cash involved, but there's also a ton of stock. And I think that he recognizes that the value of his stock is such that he can use that to do these acquisitions right now. He might need the cash later when rainy days will surely return.
Sarah, quickly, the standalone app strategy between Paper and Messenger, this has been billed as potentially the future of Facebook. How's it actually going?
So Facebook looks at things in terms of 2 to 3 year range, and then 5 to 5-year range, and then 10-year range. That's what Zuckerberg said around the 10-year anniversary. Facebook is 10 years old now. This is something that's going to sort of materialize in the next 2 to 3 years. So it's still very much in the early stages. Paper, I haven't heard much about it since it launched. Messenger, they're sort of forcing people to use it as a separate app.
Right.
WhatsApp, the acquisition hasn't closed yet. So these are all very early, and I think it'll be interesting to hear what Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg and David Ebersman have to say on the call today about how big they think these new efforts can be. Video advertising, too, is a very small thing they're testing, but it's more than $60 billion market.